Hola amigas y amigos y bienvenidos a esta lección sobre oraciones con más de un verbo. So that's right, my friends. In this lesson, we are going to be talking about sentences that have más de un verbo. Now, we've talked about the word más in the past. Hopefully, you recall that it means more. Más means more. And we're talking about sentences that have more than one verbo, more than one verb. Up to this point, we have had pretty straightforward sentences. Things like the construction worker sings, or you might say the construction worker is singing. El albañil canta. Or another example sentence, yo toco música, I play music, or I am playing music. So we have been dealing with just one verb so far. The construction worker sings or is singing, and then yo toco música, I play music. Again, dealing with just one verb in these sentences. But many, many, many sentences require that you use two verbs, or sometimes even more than that. So we're going to talk about how to deal with sentences that have just more than one single verb. Now, not all verbs are necessarily created equal in that they can work together. Let's look at this first example here, all right? Consider escribir, which means what? To write. Escribir is to write. And then cantar means what? To sing. So these verbs don't really go together. They don't work together. They're not very compatible one with each other. To write, to sing, nah, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. But let's look at this next one here. So yeah, that doesn't make sense there. Let's look at the next one. Querer followed by cantar. Now what does querer mean? Hopefully you are saying to want. And then cantar once again means to sing. Now how do these go together? To want to sing. Can those work together as a phrase? Consider the sentence, George is going to want to sing. Or even something simpler, George just wants to sing. Notice we've got the verb want and sing, and they go great together. So querer is one of those verbs, one of those actions that combines really well with other verbs. You can want to do all kinds of things. So we're going to focus on that expression, wanting to do something. So the first thing that we need to do is determine who is doing our action. Okay, that's what that big question mark head is representing. Who is doing the action? And this is the question we are asking ourselves all the time in Spanish, because that's going to determine how we conjugate our verb querer. So pick your subject, and then you'll conjugate the verb querer accordingly. Now notice, beside querer, I have the verb cantar. Cantar does not conjugate. You only conjugate the first verb when there's more than one verb. You just conjugate the first one. And that kind of makes sense because you only conjugate verbs that are being done. So imagine I am the one wanting to sing here. I am the question mark there. If I said, I want to sing, when that statement is made, I am not doing any singing. I am just doing the wanting. We conjugate only verbs that are actually being done. And in this case, I am wanting. I am not singing. So we conjugate the first verb when we've got more than one. That's a simple way to approach that. So, look here. We have a doctor. Do you remember how to say doctor? Hopefully you said doctora because we have a feminine doctor here. So, la doctora, let's conjugate our verb in the third person singular, quiere cantar. La doctora quiere cantar. The doctor wants to sing. There you go. Now you've got a sentence that has two different verbs in it. So, notice, just to break this down, we had la doctora, and then we conjugated the verb querer in the third person singular, and then we left cantar in its infinitive form. That's important. You only conjugate the first verb when there are multiple. Quiere is the conjugation. Cantar is the infinitivo. And here's that stated. Clearly, I'm trying to drive this home. And hopefully, by this point, you are writing this down. When you have más de un verbo, cuando tú tienes más de un verbo, solo conjuga el primer verbo. Cuando tienes una oración con más de un verbo, solo conjuga el primer verbo. That's how we say that rule in Spanish. All right, so let's consider this grouping of words here. To have, to sing. How do those go together? Well, what if we said something like, Charlie has to sing? It sounds like a good sentence, right? And this word to have is actually another really good word that combines with other verbs and gives us sentences that have multiple verbs. Compound verbs, you might say loosely. To have to do something, that's a very common expression. So that's the second one we're going to talk about in this lesson. We've talked about wanting to do something, but now let's talk about having to do it. So having to sing, that works for us. Let's have a look at how this works. All right, so here we have picked our subject. I've just put in this picture of soldiers. Hopefully you remember the word for soldiers is los soldados. Soldados, nice. Los soldados, the soldiers have to sing. Now, we're going to conjugate tener, but there should be a word that's popped up here that you are noticing right there under that exclamation mark. To say that you have to do something, we have to add in this little extra word. And this is, I only know to do this just because of convention. I don't know of any linguistic reason why you have to say tener que cantar instead of tener cantar. We were able to on querer cantar, that was fine. But for some reason, tener cantar, that didn't work for us. So we need to make sure that we do not forget to add the word que. Tener que means to have to. Please make sure you mark that down. Make note of that. Tener que is to have to. It's not just tener. You've got to have the que. So let's go ahead and put this into effect. Let's make our sentence here. Los soldados. Let's conjugate tener in the third person plural. As you can see, we've got tienen que cantar. And now we've just made the sentence, the soldiers have to sing. The soldiers have to sing. So let's practice this. Let me move my little image over here. There we go. All right, so la práctica. Yo tengo que comer. Yo tengo que comer. Now, hopefully you got the vocab from the lesson before this one. I think it would be yesterday. So make sure, hopefully you have that done already. And then tell me what these mean. Yo tengo que comer. I'm going to tell you the answer here in 5. Yo tengo que comer is I have to eat. Oh, I have to eat. Yo tengo que comer. All right, number 2. El mesero quiere dormir. El mesero quiere dormir. Answer coming at you in the waiter wants to sleep. Notice I didn't have to put anything after querer. There's no querer que or anything like that. All right, we just conjugate querer. Next one, número 3. La científica y yo queremos ir. Go for it. The scientist and I want to go. La científica y yo queremos ir. Again, notice queremos is conjugated and ir is not. Número 4. Los albañiles tienen que bañarse. Answer coming at you in Los albañiles tienen que bañarse means the construction workers have to bathe. have to take a bath. And again, some of those words may not be familiar with you if you have not yet gotten the vocabulary from the video. But don't delay on that. Get that out because we're going to start using this vocab as quickly as possible. All right, so now let's go the other direction. And I used vocab from our last unit to do this. There we go. So here we go. This is focusing on vocab from our last unit, so that way you're more familiar with it because we're going from English into Spanish, which is admittedly a bit more of a challenge. So, número uno, I have to write poetry. Okay, so are we thinking querer? Are we thinking tener que? Pick which one you want. Conjugate it appropriately. Correct answer coming at you in... Oops, it didn't work. I pushed the button. Go. Here we go. Number one. La respuesta a número uno. Yo tengo que escribir poesía. I have to write poetry. Yo tengo que escribir poesía. All right, let's try número dos. Número dos. The lawyers have to read a lot. Now, hopefully you remember the word a lot is the same as the word much, which is helpful because it looks just like the Spanish word mucho, mucho. So there's a little hint for you. How do you say the lawyers have to read a lot? Are you thinking querer o tener que? Answer coming at you in... Número dos. Los abogados tienen que leer mucho. Los abogados tienen que leer mucho. Número tres. The babysitter and I want to sing. Here we go. Answer in... La niñera y yo queremos cantar. Niñera, it could have been masculine as well. El niñero, whichever one you chose would be fine. La niñera y yo queremos cantar. Okay, número cuatro. The cashier wants to play music. La cajera quiere tocar música. La cajera quiere tocar música. All right, so let's summarize what we've talked about with a quick little review. First point here, there are many sentences that use more than one verb to express wants, requirements, recommendations, etc. Now, it's not just to want or to have to. There are actually more expressions that we're going to learn. We're going to learn one more in this unit itself that's going to allow us to say that you're going to do something in the future. So it's going to allow us to get out of the present a little bit and actually talk about the future. So that's really a handy little expression, and it's going to look similar to what we've done today. So hopefully this will help prepare you for that as well. We'll learn one more of those good little add-ons that really allow us to express ourselves in Spanish. The second thing we talked about, to express that you want to do something, you're going to use querer. Then you're going to follow it by a verb, whatever it is you want to do. To express that you have to do something, you're going to use tener que. You can't forget about the que here. You cannot just use tener by itself. Tener by itself means to have something. Okay? Yo tengo mi teléfono. Yo tengo un vaso. All right? That's having a thing. Tener que is to have to do an action. All right? Tener que. And then number 4, when you have two verbs working together in a sentence, you will only conjugate the first verb. Now, I want to take just another quick moment to pause here. Said two verbs working together in a sentence, like I want to play. All right? I want to play music. Those verbs are working together. But in the following sentence, I play music and I eat tacos, the words play and eat there, they're not working together. Those are in their own separate clauses, and I'm not trying to lose you with that word clause. But hopefully you can see what I mean by I want to play music, how the word want and play are working together, but in the sentence, I play music and I eat tacos, play and eat. Those verbs are not working together in the same sense that want and to play do in the sentence I gave. Okay, I'm going to stop yammering on here and wrap this lesson up. That's our time. Gracias. Gracias por su tiempo y su atención en esta lección. Hasta la próxima. Chao.